Hey everyone, this is Patrick from EasyFX Code Training System, and it's Saturday, the 24th of July, 2021. And this is the weekly technical analysis for spot gold and dollar yen for the fourth week of July. Let's kick off with spot gold here. And after last week's closing, last 3 days, forming a evening star pattern, the spot gold did test lower, tried to dip below 1800, but then fought back very quickly on Tuesday, and then consolidated for the rest of the week in a fairly tight range for spot gold, and avoided falling back into the 21 fib retracement area. So it did close a bit lower and below the monthly pivot and also the weekly pivot for last week. But it has been holding up above 18, just closed above 1800 here. So it's consolidating for a while, and we'll see how long that will hold, as we've got Federal Reserve meeting coming up on late Wednesday for Asia, or Wednesday afternoon, I should say, for US, and late Wednesday night for Asia, early Thursday morning. And there's also a number of other US related news, consumer confidence, advanced GDP, and a key one for the Federal Reserve. They'll be watching the PCE price index more closely than the CPI figures. So we'll see whether there's any major news from the Federal Reserve this time. There may not be since the last move, since the last meeting. So let's see if this 21 fib will hold, and if it does fall, then there's the critical 21 fib on the bigger swing move. If it does break out higher, then it's got to break through the monthly pivot, and this coming back to this area of resistance around the 1830s. Right, lower support here is around the 1762. Right, so since it didn't break out much last week, then we'll be looking for something more this week. The lowest was the Friday, when tried to dip to 1790. So let's watch out for this intermediate support zone here. And resistance is still going to be at the 38 fib retracement of this move. It has hit the 50, so it's fallen back below the 38, and this is now going to be a key resistance zone along with the monthly pivot. So it is in a tight range here for spot gold, so it's resisting, trying to break down, as with the other major pairs, as spot gold is also a hedge against inflation, so it's trying to fight off any downside moves and trying to break out higher. right? So it's not totally 100% inversely correlated with the US dollar, but although it is significantly high percentage. Let's also take a look at the US dollar index, the DXY, and it did initially move up higher and kept up on Tuesday to break out of this key resistance for last week and hit the upper bullish channel trend line and pull back lower and finding support at the 21 fib retracement with a strong bounce and close back above the trend line that it broke out from. That's from this swing high area at 92.78. So let's see if this level holds for next week and whether it can find support from there, or whether it's going to dip lower again, perhaps test the 21 fib, this rising trend line before finding support. So we'll see how the US dollar movement and price action is going to be, especially on the FOMC night. And let's go back to spot gold. So it's going to be another critical time next week. And let's compare that also with the US dollar against the Japanese yen. And this fell right from the Monday, fell through this support of this trend line. But it fell hard and managed to find support at the 62 fib retracement of this swing move up and made a strong bounce back up above the trend line and the daily 55 EMA, continued through on the Wednesday, and then after a pause on Thursday, went up to test the lower channel trend line, where it fell below a couple weeks ago, and came up to close right above the monthly pivot. So this is a very strong recovery. Let's take a look on the weekly time frame. Look at that. That's a strong bullish hammer here. So that's going to be an indication that it's likely going to continue with some bullish momentum to try to target the 110 and perhaps climb back into the previous channel again, and resume its movement higher. We'll see. And next week will be a critical one with the Federal Reserve meeting. So now initially it was support at the start of the week, and that quickly fell through. Another support before finding the key support at 62 fib. So this still remains as a key support at the 110 area. So 111 is going to be a critical resistance. Let's mark this as a support zone. All right. Let's also take a look at the weekly time frame for spot gold, and it has found support at the weekly 55 EMA, just as the previous week, but it did close, did not hit the highs of the previous week with the wide range, and it looks like a lower high, and this overall it could be a bear flag as well, but it will take a while to see whether it's going to consolidate further or it's going to break down. And even if it breaks, there's still strong support below that, but it's coming up to a critical juncture. And if this weekly 55 does not hold, then that should trigger some bearish moves, and we'll see how far spot gold is going to dip this round. If it still holds and remains in this channel here, slightly bullish channel, you'll see it has to break out above the 1830 area and target the 1850. So yeah, it's too early to see whether it's has fallen below the trend line. But for now, we can just identify this as a potential trend line first. Go back to the daily. Okay, so just give you a reference so that we'll see if this support holds at the 21 fib, and whether there's further consolidation for the week. But this is going to be a critical area to watch out for next week. All right, so do check out my other videos on the other major pairs. Have a safe week and have a good trading week, and cheers for now.